Welcome back, Shalligators. Today, we are talking about the decades-long Sex and the City feud between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall, aka Carrie Bradshaw and Samantha Jones. And not just breaking this down, because I couldn't help but wonder, when will people give up their petty-ass feuds and move on? We're not just going to talk about the reboot, because I have thoughts. We're going to talk about how to leave behind a toxic friendship. Do you call someone out? Do you break up with them? Do you ghost them? What do you do if it hits the fan and they start talking a bunch of trash about you and you just want to move on and be peaceful? I'll tell you what to do. But before we get started, just to remind you guys, you can shop the warm-blooded necklace. I think there's only a few left. It might actually be sold out. So head on over to Vault NYC and check it out. Also, be sure to listen to this week's episode of Girl on Top, my advice podcast. I talk about how to figure out what you want to do in life. If you're kind of good at a lot of things, or even if you're not, what's a hobby, what's a job? Also head over to Instagram and follow me over there at shallonxo. I let you guys weigh in on this video topic and suggest it. Love it. Also, InfStream has a new name. Now, InfStream is the ad-free, uncensored platform where I do some really intimate story time, some sexy hookup tip tutorial videos, and it's rebranded as Flays. I know, it sounds like a SoundCloud rapper, it doesn't matter. But your link should still work. Head on over there. There's a new video up about how to get your sex to be kinkier. Because we recently did a video, the last video was about Armie Hammer and his kinkiness, that's putting it mildly. And while most of us don't want I want to eat your toes and wear them as a necklace kind of level of kink, we might want something beyond quiet missionary position vanilla sex. And usually I found that women are much more kinky than guys are sometimes, and it can be hard for us to know how to kind of shake the dust off and get a guy to maybe explore a little bit more. So I'm going to tell you the one phrase, the one book, and the one TV show that's going to take you from quiet missionary to something a little bit of spicier without looking like a big old freak, right? Because that's important. Can I just say about Armie Hammer? Because a lot of you guys commented on there that well, you don't know everything that he's done and you didn't list this tweet and that. I know that. This isn't a journal channel. This isn't a journalism channel, right? This is an advice channel. And we talk about celebrities as the doorway into something smart, right? Into self-discovery. I am neither, but prepare yourself. I am neither a tortoise nor a hare. I know, I'm not one of those. I have never even owned a tortoise or a hare. And yet, I was able to get something out of that fable. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not here to talk about absolutely everything that's gone on with the saga. I'm here to break down the lessons inside of it. Please keep that in mind. And if that's a little too high level for you, just might not be the channel for you. So let's talk Sex and the City. Why is this coming back? Why does Hollywood do this? Where they take something good and they just wring every dollar they can out of it until you're I don't even want to look at this anymore. Until they ruin your memory of something. Sex and the City truly changed my life. And it ended in 2004, which is crazy. I thought it ended in 2010, but that's when the last movie came out, I think. And the movies, there were two subsequent movies, and they were awful. I mean, the first one was bad. The first movie was bad, where Carrie gets jilted at the altar by Mr. Big because he's I don't want a big wedding. And she's are you fucking kidding me? And that movie ended with her being okay, whatever you want, that's fine. And he's I'll take you back. Really? And then the second movie was basically all about their dry vaginas and their hormones. And they were in Abu Dhabi, being disrespectful to the culture and showing their ankles. I'm what is this? Who greenlit this? This is bad. This is bad. And so the fact that it's coming back is, I'm sorry, I don't want to know what they're up to at 55. I don't. I want it to just stay in that beautiful bubble of how it used to be. I feel this way about the Gossip Girl reboot. You know I was involved with Gossip Girl. I wrote for Gossip Girl. And it's a huge place in my heart. And this cast that they have is this band of rumpled woke sourpusses. Who the fuck is the Blair Waldorf supposed to be in this ghoulish band of weirdos? And what are they going to be doing all day? Tweeting about movements and pronouns. I can't with this. I cannot with this. What can shows just never be aspirational anymore? Can it not just be like a bitchy group of beautiful people? Hey, I'm in for that. Sometimes I just want to watch bitchy, attractive people. Sorry. So Sex and the City is coming back for a reboot, and it's going to be like, where are they now? And listen to me, if this is happening in a pandemic, I'm going to fucking riot. I don't want to see Carrie in a rhinestone mask. I don't want to know how Brady is doing with distance learning. I don't want to hear any of this. All right? But the reason I'm so gassed up about this is because Samantha is not coming back. And this is why we're talking about this. Samantha is Sex in the City. I was talking to my friend Karina about this. Hi. And she's like, every other character was so one-dimensional or annoying, and Samantha was the only character that like changed us as women, that gave us like this whole new path that we were able to walk. Our mom's generation, they lived through like the feminist revolution, right? And like their lives changed so much, and we didn't have that. I mean, we enjoyed the fruits of their labor, but to me, Samantha was a one-woman sexual revolution. Like, you never heard women talk like that. Oh, a guy I fucked. Yeah, I'm fucking two guys, blah, blah, blah. I like sex. Don't call me anymore. But I don't want kids. I don't want this. And I was like, you're in my soul. You're in my soul. And I was young, but it's like I always gravitated towards Samantha, even though my career has very closely mirrored Carrie's. And people are like, you're a real life Carrie Bradshaw. I was like, cheaper shoes, but a better nose. That's me. And yeah, on the outside, like I was much more of a Carrie, but on the inside, I mean, I'm a man eater. And like, now, none of us are only one thing, right? We're so multidimensional, but who the fuck, like Charlotte was so one-dimensional. Like Upper East Side women are fascinating. They're like these great and terrible birds of prey. And they made Charlotte just like, I don't do that. I'm like, all y'all writers, you guys live on the Upper East Side. You see these women and you think that this represents them? She's just so like, bleh. Don't even get me fucking started on Miranda. She was just, I hate that they portrayed a strong career woman as just such a butch bitch, right? She was so spiky and unpleasant. I'm like, how do you have any friends? Like, you're not pleasant to be around. And, but Samantha, she really, I mean, she just changed so many things for so many of us that, like, I go back and I watch the episodes and I'm like, whoa, so much of my personality has been informed because of her. So my holy triumvirate of who I am, Samantha Jones, Blair Waldorf, Blanche Devereaux. The holy trinity that makes Shallon. And 2 out of these 3 shows have been remade. Do not come for the Golden Girls. I warn you, me and the gays will stand up to you, and we will not let this stand. Don't come for Blanche, Dorothy, Sophia, and Rose. But they are coming for Sex in the City. And yeah, Samantha's not coming back. Why? Well, here we get into the feud. This feud has been going on for over 20 years. Over 20 years, my God. So it all started, allegedly, when the show was like going gangbusters and Samantha was like, hey, basically I want more money. And like, we're not really reaping the benefits. Like the show is doing so well, but we're not making enough money. And apparently that alienated her from the cast. Now the subtext is she wanted to make as much as Carrie. That's sort of like the theory in the subtext, that like she thought she was kind of the big star. Carrie's like, it's literally me. And you know, that caused a great schism to the point where like they all went to the Emmys together, but they didn't sit together. Like Samantha Kim Cattrall like sat by herself and reporters are like, the fuck? And she's like, look, we're not best friends. We're professionals and we have our own separate lives. And good for her for being transparent about that because, yeah, of course. On the other hand, though, when you're an actor on an ensemble show, you kind of do have the duty to give this impression that things off camera are the way they are on camera. You have to sell it. People don't want to peek behind that curtain and be like, no, we hate each other. Joey hates Monica, Chandler hates Rachel, blah, blah, blah. Like, it really does disrupt the chemistry. It's like when you have romances. Like, I think the reason 50 Shades of Grey like didn't do that well is because Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan hated each other. Twilight, on the other hand, is still such a juggernaut because Bella and Edward were boning in real life and there was like so much chemistry, you know? And so people like to get caught in that fantasy. And Kim was like not doing it with Sex and the City. And that's why she didn't come back for a movie. She says, she's like, I was going through a divorce. The show was ending. My father was really sick. I just didn't have it in me to do a movie right after the show ended. And, 2 years later, whatever it was, I did. And so we did it. Okay. But there has always also been the feud between her and Sarah Jessica Parker, that Sarah doesn't like me and we're not friends and we don't hang out. And to her credit, SJP has always taken the highest of high roads. She's like, I love Kim. And we could never do the show if we didn't all like each other. And she's great. And like, don't vilify her for bringing up money. She should. This is her job. That's fantastic. I've met Sarah Jessica Parker multiple times. Like in New York, we were always at the same society events. I've interviewed her a bunch, and she is truly so gracious and so lovely. She is. And she doesn't like her husband. You can just see, they don't seem happy. I mean, I don't think he's straight as an arrow, and I wouldn't enjoy being married to a homosexual either, but to each their own. Anyway, she's super lovely, and maybe it's an act. I don't care. Thanks. Great. Thank you for being polite while you're doing your job. I love it. I appreciate it. And yes, I am going to do a video on like the nicest and the rudest celebrities that I've met, because the list, like the more I think about it, the longer the list gets in both categories, but mostly the rude one, because the rude ones stand out, because most celebrities are very gracious. They're doing their job. They're professional. And the ones who aren't, I mean, unmistakable correlation between the rudest celebrities and the ones you kind of don't hear about anymore. Katherine Heigl syndrome. So there has been a lot of water under the bridge with SJP and Kim. And so this feud is reignited now because, feud, but whether or not these two are feuding behind the scenes, who cares? It's more like the pettiness continues, right? That Kim Cattrall is like liking tweets about like, good for you, Samantha, for not coming back. Take care of yourself, put yourself first. And she's like the petty, and SJP is like, she always keeps mum on this stuff. So on one hand, people are like, I don't think this feud is real. I think it's the media that keeps it going. Of course, it's a storyline, but you can't deny the facts that Kim Cattrall is liking petty tweets, and she's also not coming back. Now, whether or not that's because of money, whether or not it's because she's 64 and maybe doesn't want to get into the shape she was in like 2004 and get a facelift or whatever Hollywood require, because it's a show about sex. That's probably part of the bargain. Like, I don't blame her for being like, I'm so good on this. I just wish they weren't doing the reboot at all. Like, literally no one's asking for this. I just come up with something new. We always think of Hollywood as being so full of creatives. Is it? Nobody there seems very creative at all. Here's why. We have 10 fucking Spider-Mans that we've had in the last decade. Every other year, there's a new Spider-Man reboot, new Spider-Man. I'm like, why? Why do we need a new Spider-Man? Why do we need Fast and Furious 65? Why? Because there's an endless supply of 11-year-old boys is why, honestly. 11-year-old boys run Hollywood. It's awful. So I'm, on one hand, like, I'm Team Kim because, stand up for yourself. And if you don't like doing something, don't do it. On the other, though, when you're an actor and you belong to a franchise as big as that one, you belong to the franchise. It's like the mafia. You can get in, but you can't get out. And it's like, would it have been that bad to just do the movie? I mean, what else are you doing? And so they were only going to pay you $10 million. It's $10 million you didn't have yesterday. And okay, you would have had to get a personal trainer. I would love it if a studio was paying for me to get in really good shape. But then I'm also Team SJP because she's really taken the high road on this. And now we're going to talk about what to do if you need to leave a toxic friend. Whether it's a group or a friendship, this is something we as women encounter at various points in our life. And that's the shitty part. Like, this isn't necessarily something that it's like, this is only in high school, only in my sorority, and I'm never going to have to deal with this again. My mom deals with it. My mom literally talked to me last night about a friend she had who is so much drama at 70. And she's like, I just can't take it anymore. I'm like, girl, I know. So there's two types of friends you have to leave, okay? There's a friendship where you've done the changing, and there's a friendship where she's done the changing, right? And I want us to be very judicious about how we use the word toxic. It's very easy to apply the word toxic to things we just don't like or that we've outgrown. And it can be heavily part of a victim narrative. And you know, I will not let anybody here be a victim. I will not let us engage in that victim narrative horse shit. But sometimes we look at a friendship that we have simply outgrown, because friendships are seasons, right? And seasons do change as we do. And we're like, she's so toxic. Like, is she? Or maybe the dynamic just doesn't work anymore. Maybe what you were always able to give to her in terms of time or energy or drinking and going out, maybe that's changed. Maybe she's not the one that's changed. Maybe you have. And that's okay. You are allowed to and you are supposed to change. But that doesn't mean you can look at everything in your past, everything that isn't part of the new you, and be like, toxic. Do you look back at like your tricycle? I mean, it's a toxic tricycle. Toxic. No, you're like, that's not what I ride anymore. I ride my F350. So, okay, like that was then. This is now. The seasons change. I don't look back at winter. It's a toxic. Winter's so toxic because it's summer now, right? So be very, very honest with yourself about why this friendship has come to this critical point. Be honest about whether this really has run its course or there's a way to kind of rejigger stuff and fit this person into your new life, right? I recently, I mean, this has been a tough ass year for me and for all of you. I've gone through enormous life changes, a complete 180, Manhattan to Montana, right? In a long-term relationship to single. And everything I thought about my future, everything I thought about my present changed. And therefore, I cannot stand people who don't change. And I'm not saying people have to like, every year they gotta like raise their life to the ground and start all over. No, but it just became, as I was doing so many brave things and confronting so many scary things, like literally day to day, from setting up my new house after living in an apartment for years, to making brand new friends, to finding a boyfriend, all of that stuff. Like, I look at my friends who like can't change the most basic or minor things about their life. And I'm like, I can't be around you. You don't lift me up anymore. You keep me down. And maybe I lift you up. Okay. But that's not the vibe I get from some of them. If some people like, you're inspiring me and I'm making change, great. You don't have to be doing exactly what I'm doing, but it's the friends who I'm like, they're miserable, they're stagnant, and they're not taking advice. That to me, talk about a triumvirate. That to me is the triumvirate of I don't need you in my life. And on one hand, it's like, well, I don't want to abandon people when they're in a bad place, but I also can't have people in my life who want to be in that bad place. And they might say that they don't, but their actions say otherwise. And I have a tendency to plug in. Well, why? Why are you like that? What can I do to fix it? Not my circus, not my monkey. This has been another huge shift in my life. I am no longer fixing people in my private life. I'm not. I'll help to fix you guys because I can disconnect from you guys. I can't disconnect from the fuckboy. He just needs my help, or for this. I can't do it anymore. And I realize that I'm swinging a bit wildly to the other side and just being a little blank and be like, I'm sorry. But I have to have that overcorrection in order to get data and then find a happy medium. And part of that overcorrection is annexing people out of my life. So here was my trick. Here was my trick for some of this stuff. Because whether it's drinking too much or stagnating or gossiping, I made resolutions that were directed at them, but not so much that they would catch on, right? So the one friend I have who was especially draining and stagnant always wanted to talk on the phone constantly. Every other day. Wait, can we call? Can we FaceTime? Talk to me. And I'm like, first of all, no, don't fucking call me on the phone. I hate being on the phone. Do you know why? Because that phone call is now a video I don't have the energy to do. It's brain power I don't have. It's empathy that I've not wasted, but spent. And that phone call has a very specific dollar value, which is fine if I wanted to be making it. But if I don't, I'm like, I just lost a day's work. I just lost a video. I lost X hundreds, thousands of dollars, whatever it is. Like, I can't do that for something I don't enjoy. Okay. Going out with my friends and partying, whatever, I enjoy that. So, okay. And so I told her, I was like, hey, one of my New Year's resolutions, I'm not talking on the phone anymore. And it seems like your resolution should be the opposite. Oh, I'm connecting more with people. And she's like, what? Like, I'm not doing it. It's so draining for me. I said the truth. I'm like, it's money, it's energy I can't spend on a video. It makes me so anxious. I would love to, I will text you all day long. I will text you all day long. And we can do a phone call like once a month or something, but truly that's all I have the bandwidth for. What I didn't say is, I'm talking to other people on the phone. I'm talking to other people on the phone. I am talking to people who are changing their lives, who are lifting me up, who are inspiring me and making me better, and who are allowing me to give that to them as well. I am not getting on the phone with people who want to bitch and bitch and bitch about their ex again and again and again in this conversation one more time. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing that. I have another friend who drinks too much. And we have fun when we go out, but my career is at the point where I cannot take days off. And that's a whole other story. But like, if I'm hungover, that is a dead day for me. And it makes me crazy. But I know if I go out with her, we're doing shots, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I said, hey, I'm no longer drinking during the week. And I know that's the only time she can drink because on the weekends she's like doing something else. So that was strategic. But it's me putting up a boundary with her and not making it about her. It's like, you drink too much and I can't be around you. It's not so pointed. It's like, look, this is my boundary, and uh-oh, are you on the other side of it? Oh, whoops. I had no idea that would be the outcome. So I'm like, I'll go to lunch with you. Let's go get breakfast. Let's go get coffee. No, I'm not meeting at Stacy's at like 7 p.m. It's a bar. And like going out and doing all these things. I can't. I am though, but with other people. Right? But you just need to know that. And putting up these boundaries gives me data about how much people respect my boundaries. If my friend keeps calling me or gives me shit for not wanting to be on the phone, I'm like, you actually don't respect me. And you don't want to get on the phone with me because you genuinely want to hear how I'm doing, because I'm willing to share with you how I'm doing via text. You want to get on the phone so you can bitch about your ex-boyfriend again. You don't want to go out with me because you really want to see me and you want to, hey, shake the dust off, Shallon, have some fun. You want to go out because you want a drinking buddy to slam down 5 shots. I'm not a person. I'm an accessory. I'm an enabler. I'm a vehicle. I'm some sort of getaway car. And I'm not doing that. I'm willing to have relationships. I'm not willing to be used. Your other option is to level with them. You would be surprised at the answers. Sometimes, because I did say this phone call thing to another friend and she's like, oh, thank God, I hate being on the phone. And I'm like, thank you. She's like, I thought you liked it. I'm like, no. And she's like, amazing. And that was a friendship I thought I was going to like seriously have to back burner. But being honest, it was like, actually, a lot of times you're on the same page as someone. I said a drinking thing to another friend and she's like, I'm tired of drinking too. I kind of don't know how to stop and I don't know what else to do when we go out. I'm like, that's easy. We can fix that. But getting on the same page is the hard thing. And here we are. So before you paint people with this broad brushstroke of toxicity, ask yourself, is there a way to save this? But maybe you just don't want to. Maybe you just don't want to. I get that. And you don't have an obligation to stay married to your friends forever. There's seasons. And so much of the time, I get questions from you guys and it's like, we used to be so close. We've been best friends since we were 5 and I don't know, things are changing. Hey, seasons do change. And it doesn't make one person right and it doesn't make one person wrong. It also doesn't make one person toxic. And the reason you might be applying that term, you devalue the relationship to devalue the loss because you're chicken shit. I'm saying this from experience. When I've done this, it's because I wasn't brave enough to be like, this just plain doesn't work. I want something else. I love her. I release her with love, but I have to move into something else. No, I need to look at her as the villain. Right? So then I don't feel bad for moving on. I can't see that there's shades of gray, that there's amazing things about her, but it just kind of run its course and I need to keep it moving because then I'm going to second guess myself and feel guilty. But the upside to doing that, to having those shades of gray about a friend, is you leave the door open to come back together. I've recently reconnected with a friend who I was like, toxic. She wasn't toxic. She was in a bad place. And yeah, okay, fine. That could be defined as toxicity. But she's grown. She's changed. I've changed. And I'm like, wow, you are actually amazing now. She's gotten into a lot of therapy. I'm like, oh, great. Like, I would love to come visit you. Like, it's a different situation. People grow, especially when you're young, but actually kind of all the time. You grow at different rates. Crops grow at different rates. Animals grow at different rates. Why do you think people emotionally don't? And just because you have hit this wall of, I'm not drinking anymore, and all of you who do are so immature. No, maybe they're just 10 steps behind you down the same road. That doesn't mean they're lost. It just means they're not where you are yet. And vice versa, right? We know that friends will change and we're like, oh, I can't believe she just wants to hang out with her husband. Yeah, dude, I get that. But she might be a little further down a road that in 5 years, you're going to be like, yeah, no, I have a family now too. And I get it. I get how hard it is to get together. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Friendships, like seasons, can come back around again. They can be in some sort of hibernation. But not always. Sometimes people change and it isn't for the better. And I realize that everyone's chaos comes from a place that's bad. No one's drinking too much because they're super happy. No one's doing a ton of coke because everything's going great, right? No one's being jealous and hateful and gossiping when they're just happy and content. They're not. And again, on one hand, it's like, okay, well, do we want to abandon someone if they're in a bad place? No, but don't make your problem my problem. I'm sorry, but where I'm at in my life, I have so much to do. And my energy currency is like budgeted down to the minute. And if you're not bringing something into my life that is positive and helpful, and you see me and you respect me, and of course that's mutual because I want to give that to you. If you're a problem in my life, you're out of my life. And okay, maybe that makes me callous. I'd rather be callous and at peace. I'd rather be rude and a bad friend and whole than plugged into something that is toxic or that simply isn't going to get better or something I can't fix for them. And we can't fix anything for anyone. We can be there for them. Oh, I support you. I'll help you pack your stuff if you need to go to rehab. What? Sure, yeah. Oh, you actually just want me to come over and watch you do coke on Christmas Eve? No, thank you. No, thank you. So sometimes we do have to leave a toxic friend. And the question is usually, do I tell them or not? Do I break up with them? I just want to let them know what they've done. Why, girl? What do we say about war? Peace or victory? What are you after? What are you after? If you're truly after peace, the path is always so clear. No matter what battle you're in, no matter who you're dealing with, the path is always so clear, and it is usually the path of non-action or non-confrontation. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like, oh, I'm just non-confrontational. I mean that in a non-combative way. If you have decided this friendship doesn't work, she's a bitch, she's gossipy, she's jealous, she's rude, she cuts me down, move on. There is something to be said for getting things off your chest. But again, like, why are you doing that? In service of saving the friendship? Probably not. No, but she needs to know what she did. I can't think of anything more demonstrative of someone's actions than someone leaving their life. Truly, right? I can't think of anything more jarring than not getting a text back, than someone not talking to you at a party, than someone not showing up to their birthday. Like, that speaks way more than like, do you know what you did? If you really feel like you have to get it off your chest, fine, but think about it. And we talk about this with fuckboys. Closure. Closure is something you give to yourself, girl. If the person we need closure from was able to give us closure, if they were communicative enough, wise enough, if they cared enough, we wouldn't need closure to begin with. And that goes for friends too. If that bitch Darcy gave a shit about you, you wouldn't have to go up to her and be like, you called me fat. She knows that. She did it on purpose, and she probably did it more than once. Like, so you're appealing to emotions this person doesn't have, and you're going to look weak, and you're going to look super gassed up and twisted about it, which makes you the loser because the person who cares the least wins. These are the rules of war, right? These are rules of interpersonal war. This is just how it is. And you're going to give her ammunition to keep hurting you. She's going to know, I got under her skin. Because maybe this person is a bully. Maybe she's a mean girl and a bitch. And now she's going to see you as such a ripe target. And when you separate from that group, she's going to talk all kinds of trash about you. She's going to spill your secrets because she knows she's going to get the one thing she wants, a reaction. She knows you care. And so she's going to keep picking, because sometimes bad people, what they want more than anything is to feel powerful, right? And every dominant needs a submissive. And you have just given her that. You said, you hurt me. I'm the submissive. You have power over me. Would you like to hurt me a few more times? I move through life unbothered. Very bothered behind the scenes. But I allow myself to be bothered by people who I love and I trust, not the people who did bother me. Never let them see you bleed. That's not how it works. That is never a gift I will give to my enemies, whether that's on the micro, huge enemies I have, or like bitchy baristas. Like you just don't get to see that from me. You don't get that win. You don't get to feel like you have that power. Because at the end of the day, like you kind of don't. Like you can sort of like nudge me a little bit. I can bounce. I'm never veering off course. I'm never stopping. I'm never collapsing. And if I do collapse, if something in this wide, wild world makes me collapse, I get right the fuck back up. That's what I do. So I'm not going to hand over the keys to my emotional mansion to some fucking bitch named Darcy. It's not going to happen. And when you do that, you're not going to feel like you can move on in a positive way. You're not taking the high road. You're not taking the Sarah Jessica Parker road. So say you separate from someone and they're like, well, where have you been? What have you been doing? You don't owe people an explanation. You honestly don't. People can ask you a million questions. You don't have to answer them. What if someone asks you for your debit card number or your social security number? Are you going to be like 597? No, you're going to be like, I'm not giving that to you. Why are we giving someone our emotional data? Well, here's why. Here's what I'm doing. If you're not trying to save that friendship, just keep it moving. Sorry, I've been really busy. Maybe I'll see you in the summer. Hey, that's all you need to say. You don't owe someone a huge breakup. If all you know, not think, but know, is that whatever you say is going to be bullets in their gun. It's just going to be ammunition. Keep it going. But not everyone goes gentle into that good night. Now do they? No. Sometimes you leave behind a toxic friend, and I hear you guys say this, like, I'm afraid to cut someone off because I'm afraid of her. I'm afraid of what she's going to do. She's going to talk shit about me. Okay? And people talk shit about me every day. Do I love it? No. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I decide how happy I am. I look around my life and I'm like, I have amazing people in my life who love me and support me and know me. And that's you guys too. That's not just people in my real life. That's you guys. So it's like, if people don't like me, like, sounds like a you problem. It's not my problem, you know? Like, if you want to be mad and be weird, and that's so easy to say. Like, when someone's talking shit about you, that's the advice everyone gives. Brush it off. And you're like, oh, well, I was annoyed, but now I'm annoyed and I feel stupid. So thank you. Like, no one likes to be talked poorly about. No one likes to be slandered. No one likes to be accused of being someone or something that they're not. You know, it's like, do you want to be accused of murder? Great. You also don't want to be accused of blowing the whole lacrosse team, do you? No. We work very hard to project a truth to the world. And when someone purposely comes along and lies on us, I mean, it's such an assault. It's such a violation, right? But the way you combat this is to live in the antithesis of whatever they're saying. And usually that means silence. That means silence. Because what these people want more than anything, like I said, is a reaction. So their shit talk is going to start up. Kelsey's such a bitch. No reaction. Kelsey's a bitch, and she is stalking me on Instagram. Well, there's no evidence that that's not true, and she can't prove it. So Kelsey's a bitch who's stalking me on Instagram, and she fucked the whole lacrosse team. Okay. And you know what everyone else around this chick is doing? They're like, Hannah, what are you talking? Hannah looks stupid. Kelsey doesn't look stupid, right? Hannah looks insane and fixated on this and so into it. And now the tables have turned. Who's the person that cares the least and therefore wins? You are. You are. Because you have just floated above this and you're looking at them as a Great Dane looks at that barking Chihuahua. Huh. Wonder what's gotten into him. I don't know. Moving on. Unbothered. You can be very bothered behind the scenes. You can be unbothered as much as you want in private, away from any sort of audience that this girl might get from you, okay? And eventually, one of two things are going to happen, probably both. She is going to be the one who looks stupid, and everyone's going to look at her and be like, you're handling this really poorly. Like, ugh. Guys are going to look at her and be like, I don't want any part of that. Just such drama. No. She's going to dig her own grave. She is. And it's going to cause a schism in the group. There's going to be the Gretchen Wieners who are going to follow her blindly no matter what. But then there's going to be the Katies who are like, I see a side of you that I don't like. And you can start your own group. And even if you don't, I would rather be alone at peace, have one ride or die friend than 10 fakes, right? The other thing that's going to happen is she's going to burn herself out. When a creature, and I say creature, whether we mean a toddler or a dog, and to me they're almost one and the same. I've seen both pee and target. When they're not getting a reaction, they stop doing something, right? This bitch needs to know that 100 times out of 100, she does X and your reaction is Y. And Y is 0. 0. You don't, nope, no reaction. And she can spin herself into this toxic hurricane nightmare, digging her own grave, ruining her own reputation, making her an absolutely radioactive untouchable to boys. And meanwhile, you are a brick fucking wall. There is nothing harder than in this world than non-reaction. Nothing. Reacting is easy. Emotion is easy. Combat is easy. It is staying in that stillness, that unbothered facade. And of course it's a facade because of course we're bothered. That has to be your directive when leaving toxic situations. Whether that's a friendship, whether that's a job, whether that's a relationship, whether that's simply behaviors that no longer serve you. And it's difficult, but practice makes perfect. It really does. Because you're going to get that neutrality, that peace, not the victory, the peace, and the moving on, which allegedly is what you want. But you need to be honest with yourself. If you're just looking for a fight, okay, wars have winners and they have losers, and there is always collateral damage. Not one battle in history didn't have a single casualty. Think about that before you engage. If you truly want peace, you're going to get that neutrality and look back and be like, fuck, think this reaction is why we're not friends. And I've said that to people. This reaction is why we're not together anymore. This reaction is why I can't have you in my life. Thank you. Thank you for validating what I knew. I couldn't maybe put a set of behaviors to it or a name to it, but you did. And I really appreciate that because now, I can move on truly unbothered. I want to know your experience with toxic friends. When have maybe you been the toxic one? Have you looked back and you're like, oh, that was a toxic friend? Have you left a toxic person, realized that both of you just needed to do some growing and then you were able to come back together? Have you left a truly monstrous bitch and she's gone all Regina George on you? How did that resolve itself? Or maybe it hasn't. If you guys want to talk about that here, go ahead, or head on over to the Shalligator Reddit thread. You guys submit questions to each other and answer, and it's just a great little place to collaborate. There's thousands of you guys over there, and it's wonderful. I love it. I'll see you later, Shalligators. Mwah!